All right, let's talk about risk, but not in the way you might think. We're not talking about some big, scary monster under the bed. We're talking about risk as something you can actually measure, something you can manage. And we're going to break down how understanding this one concept is the absolute key to making smarter, multi-million, even billion-dollar business decisions.
So let's jump right in with a question for you. Take a quick look at these three investments. Now, here's the thing. They're all projected to have the exact same average return. So, based only on that, which one are you picking? A, B, or C? Go ahead, lock in your answer.
You know, if you felt a little hesitant there, you were onto something. Because that average number, it doesn't even come close to telling the whole story. Look at this. Investment A. See how all the possible outcomes are huddled right around that $20,000 average? Now, look at investment C. Whoa, the outcomes are all over the map, from as low as $5,000 to as high as $35,000. That giant spread, that variability, that's risk.
And this brings us right to our first big idea. What are we really talking about when we say financial risk?
See, it's not just about the chance of losing your shirt. In the world of finance, risk is really all about the variability of what could happen. The wider that range of potential outcomes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the riskier we say an investment is. It's the uncertainty itself that we're trying to measure.
And this plugs directly into some basic human psychology. Most of us, and that includes the big shot investors, are what you'd call risk averse. We just don't like uncertainty. We'd rather have a sure thing. And because of that, if you want us to take on a bigger gamble, you'd better offer a much bigger potential prize to make it worth our while.
So, this gut feeling about risk is great, but it won't fly in a boardroom. How do we move from a feeling to a number we can actually use in our calculations? Let's check out the tools that pros use to pin down uncertainty.
This slide just nails it. This visualizes our first tool, standard deviation. And don't let the name scare you, it's just a fancy term for measuring how spread out the results are. See graph A? The curve is tall and skinny. That means most of the results are clustered right around the average. That's a low standard deviation. It's predictable. Now look over at graph C. It's flat and wide, like a pancake. That means there's a huge range of possibilities. That's a high standard deviation and a much, much riskier bet.
But standard deviation by itself isn't the whole story. It can actually be misleading. Let me ask you this. Looking at these two situations, which one feels riskier? A potential $600 swing on a $6,000 investment or a $190 swing on a $600 investment? If we just look at the raw numbers, 600 versus 190, it's not a fair fight, is it? We're missing context.
And that's where our next tool comes in, to save the day, the coefficient of variation. This is the great equalizer. Instead of just looking at the raw spread, it tells you how much risk you're taking on for every single dollar of expected return. It lets you make a true apples-to-apples comparison between any two investments, no matter how big or small.
Okay, so we can measure risk. Big deal, right? Well, yeah, it's a huge deal, because now we're going to see how this measurement directly changes the math and the actual dollar value of a project. This is where it gets really interesting.
This curve shows us what we call a risk-adjusted discount rate. Let's break that down. A dollar promised to you a year from now is worth less than a dollar in your hand today, right? Well, what if that promise is shaky? What if it's not a sure thing? Well, then it's worth even less. And that's what's happening here. As a project's risk goes up, investors discount those potential future earnings more and more heavily. They demand a higher return to make the gamble worth it.
Let's watch this play out. We've got two investments, A and B. Now, if we just ignore risk for a second and use the same discount rate for both, wow, investment B looks amazing. Its net present value, or NPV, is over $1,400, totally crushing investment A. Looks like an easy choice, right?
But wait a minute. What if investment A is something safe, like a simple product update, and investment B is something really risky, like launching a brand new thing in a new country? Once we apply a much higher, more appropriate discount rate to that risky investment B, look what happens. Bam! Its NPV completely tanks into the negative. And all of a sudden, the boring, safer investment A is the only choice that makes any sense. See? Risk changes everything.
Now, in the real world, decisions aren't always a simple this or that. Sometimes you've got multiple steps, multiple possible outcomes. So let's look at a tool that's built for exactly that kind of messiness.
This is where we bring in something called a decision tree. Think of it like a roadmap for your choices.
It helps you visualize all the different paths a decision could lead to, and it forces you to put a probability on success and failure at every single fork in the road. Let's see one in action.
Take a look at this. Project B, that online store, has a higher average expected value, $25 million. Sounds good. But the decision tree makes something else crystal clear. There's a 30% chance it could be a total dud and lose you $35 million. Ouch. Project A, on the other hand, has a lower average payout, but its worst-case scenario is way less painful. The tree doesn't spit out the right answer, but it lays the risk and the reward out on the table so you can make a much smarter choice.
Okay, so far, we've been looking at projects one by one, in a vacuum. But real companies are a whole collection of projects. And that leads to this really cool kind of counterintuitive idea about managing a company's total risk.
So, picture a company that makes fancy electronic parts. As you can see in Graph A, when the economy is booming, they're making a killing. Now, what if that same company buys another business that makes basic building products? That business, shown in Graph B, actually does great during a recession when people are fixing up their homes instead of buying new stuff. These two businesses are basically opposites. One zigs when the other one zags.
And here is where the magic happens. When you put those two businesses together, you get Graph C. Look how much smoother that line is. The crazy highs and lows of the individual businesses start to cancel each other out, creating a much more stable, predictable, and less risky company as a whole. That's the incredible power of diversification.
And there's a way to measure this zigzag relationship, and it's called the coefficient of correlation. Just look at this scale. If two projects have a correlation of +1, they move in perfect lockstep, so there's zero diversification benefit. But if you can find two with a correlation of -1, they move in perfect opposition, and that's the holy grail of risk reduction.
All of this builds up to this really powerful concept called the efficient frontier. That's the curve you're looking at. Think of it as the line of perfection. Every single point on that line represents the absolute best possible return you can get for a specific amount of risk. If your company's portfolio is one of the dots below the line, you're being inefficient. You're taking on risk and not getting the full reward you should be. The goal is to always be right on that line.
And this all boils down to one thing: the company's stock price, its value. If a company takes on dumb risk, inefficient risk, you better believe investors are going to notice. They'll see the extra uncertainty, they'll demand a higher return to compensate for it, and that will push the company's stock price down. So managing risk isn't just some academic exercise. It has a direct impact on what the company is worth.
So that really brings us to the final question. And it's a question for giant corporations and for you as an individual investor. Looking at that frontier, where do you want to live? Are you playing it safe down here on the conservative end, with lower risk but also lower returns? Or are you pushing out to the edge, taking on that higher risk for the shot at a much, much bigger reward? There's no one right answer, but understanding that trade-off, that's the key to making a truly smart decision.